Imagine a world where every single person who wants a job can find one, and the economy is thriving as a result. This is the ultimate goal of maximum employment, a concept that has been at the forefront of economic policy for decades. But here's the catch. Achieving maximum employment is easier said than done, and it's a challenge that has puzzled economists and policymakers for years. The Federal Reserve, the central bank of the United States, has been tasked with pursuing maximum employment as part of its dual mandate along with stable prices. But what does maximum employment really mean, and how can we gauge when we've reached it? The answer lies in understanding the complex and ever-changing nature of the labor market. In its 2020 statement on longer-run goals and monetary policy strategy, the Fed explained that maximum employment is a broad-based and inclusive goal that is not directly measurable and changes over time due to non-monetary factors that affect the structure and dynamics of the labor market. In other words, there is no single statistic that can capture the essence of maximum employment. So, how does the Fed interpret maximum employment? The answer is by considering a wide range of indicators, including the unemployment rate, labor market participation, and wage growth. When the economy is near or at maximum employment, the unemployment rate is also near or at its natural rate, also known as the non-accelerating inflation rate of unemployment, NAIRU. The natural rate of unemployment is not zero, as there will always be some level of unemployment due to workers transitioning between jobs and searching for new opportunities. And this is where it gets interesting. The natural rate of unemployment is not fixed and can vary over time due to factors such as advances in technology, demographic shifts, and changes in fiscal policy. Economists have developed statistical models to estimate the natural rate of unemployment, but these models are not without their limitations. For example, if there is no movement in the inflation rate, these models tend to assign most movements in actual unemployment to changes in the natural rate of unemployment. The pandemic provides a perfect example of this. At the beginning of the pandemic, unemployment rose to 14%, but since there was no simultaneous decline in prices, these statistical models concluded that a rapid rise in the natural rate of unemployment must have taken place. But is this really plausible? An alternative approach to assessing maximum employment is to focus on labor market indicators that signal an economy close to full employment. One such indicator is the unemployment rate at the end of expansions. By analyzing the expansions following the last 3 recessions, we can see that the unemployment rate tends to converge within a relatively narrow range of 3.5% to 4.5%. This range can serve as a signal to policymakers to start considering normalizing monetary policy. But here's the part most people miss. This approach does not rely on inflation data. Unlike previously described methodologies, this means that our methodology can detect an economy at its maximum employment state without any underlying inflationary pressures. And this is the part that sparks controversy. Some argue that this approach is too simplistic and does not take into account the complexities of the labor market. Others argue that it is a more accurate reflection of the economy's true potential. So, what do you think? Should we be using labor market indicators to gauge maximum employment, or are there better approaches out there? The analysis also shows that the overall unemployment rate converges within a relatively narrow range. But what about specific groups? Do more narrowly defined groups, such as those separated by gender or education level, converge toward their maximum level together? Or do some groups reach maximum employment first while others lag behind? The data shows that both men and women tend to uniformly reach maximum employment by the end of the expansion. But there are differences in the peak of the recession. For example, the Great Recession hit male-dominated sectors harder, while the pandemic more heavily impacted sectors that traditionally employ larger shares of women. When it comes to education level, the data shows that the unemployment rate is lower for more educated workers, and it seems to reach a maximum employment state more quickly during expansions. In contrast, Unemployment for less educated groups takes longer to decline. This has important implications for policymakers who may want to pay special attention to the unemployment rate of less educated groups to assess if the goal of maximum employment has been achieved. In conclusion, gauging maximum employment is a complex task that requires careful consideration of a wide range of indicators and methodologies. While there is no single approach that can capture the essence of maximum employment, labor market indicators, such as the unemployment rate at the end of expansions, can provide a useful signal to policymakers. But what do you think? Should we be using labor market indicators to gauge maximum employment? Or are there better approaches out there? Share your thoughts in the comments below. As Marios Karabarbanis, a senior economist in the research department at the Federal Reserve Bank of Richmond, notes, evaluating if the economy has reached maximum employment is not straightforward, and it's a challenge that requires ongoing research and debate. So let's keep the conversation going. What are your thoughts on maximum employment? And how can we ensure that everyone who wants a job can find one?